Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. One of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the front room, and listen to Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski, Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your host, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we are going to be talking about all kinds of hodgepodge, NHL season starting, some former Cubs players going to play in Korea, all kinds of hodgepodge with COVID going on. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. They're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the Stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. So even though the season is currently not going on, because like everything else, is shut down due to the virus, head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, tickets, and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, did you have a wonderful Father's Day?
Yes, I did. A very good one. I was able to spend it with my dad and grandpa this afternoon, and as my father's present, I bought him dinner Friday night. So very good Father's Day weekend. No complaints here. I think Dad really enjoyed it. I think Grandpa really enjoyed it. We wish that we had some baseball to watch, but, that is not happening right now. But we made the best of everything we had, and all thumbs up.
Did you actually get to go into a restaurant to eat?
No, we ordered out and brought it home. We wanted to do that the entire time because the places that we go to that have the outdoor seating is still pretty limited, and we didn't really want to potentially wait, and it was kind of hot out, so we just ordered out and took home.
Gotcha. Yeah, we ate yesterday out. Helped a friend move into his new house, and then we were headed home, and it wasn't late, but I've got a 5-year-old, so she goes to bed pretty early. So I was like, what should we have for dinner? And I was like, you know what? We're going to pass by an Indian place. We'll see if they have the outdoor seating open. And they did. Well, they have those doors that kind of slide, like they're kind of like open like closet doors. Was it accordion doors? And they open like that, so they're out. So you have like the cross breeze going through, so it's considered outdoor seating, even though you're under a roof, and you don't have the elements, the sun and the wind. I mean, the sun and bees and things. So we had Indian food, and I was like, man, it's nice to sit down in a restaurant.
And that sounds nice.
And there was we were in a section where we were the only table, so there was nobody there except us and the wait staff. So, we kept our distance.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where that they're taking certain measures to be safe. It's just you always want to make sure that you're doing that yourself. It's easy to kind of let your guard down, so to speak. I had gone to the mall yesterday, two of the indoor malls for the first time in a while because I wanted to buy something. I had my mask on and everything, and it was kind of like one of those weird things where when you were walking around, you're thinking the entire time, okay, try to stay 6 feet away from people. So there was kind of some weaving and dodging involved, kind of a not quite parkour, but it kind of felt James Bond-like in some areas where I had to weave around people just to keep distance.
You're doing some Matrix moves.
Exactly.
It's crazy. It's like literally walking distance from my house is a Target. And I had to go over there, not last week, the week before, and it was just so many people that just didn't care. They were wearing masks, at least, most of them, but it was because they don't let you in without it. But they just didn't care about, being up in your space. So if you're grabbing something, they're just walking up and reaching over you.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, I'm being a little more brave about going out, but I'm also not trying to have, some stranger, up in my grill breathing on me.
Yeah, that's the thing, especially when you're in the grocery stores. Kind of like we were saying, the grocery stores are it's hard to space out in a grocery store because when you think about it, aisles are not very big. And I know there's only one ways in the grocery stores, but still, you got to turn to get from one aisle to the other. It's hard.
Yeah, and everyone's got a cart.
Yeah.
At Target, most of the time I don't have a cart. At most I have the basket, because I'm just grabbing a couple of things. But it's like at the grocery store, everybody's got a cart, and so you've got the carts in there, and you're trying to go around people's carts. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's at the point where you feel like when you go out, you don't really know what kind of crowd you're going to get because some people are still very careful and some are like, well, this has been going on for how long, and they don't want to wait around and continue to take all the precautionary measures. They want to go out and they want things to get back to normal. So you kind of have to be careful more than ever right now, in my opinion. Yeah,
I mean, you're seeing certain states, the numbers absolutely spike. I think Florida had four consecutive days they had each day they exceeded their record number of positive tests for COVID-19. So Illinois is actually doing a good job comparatively. So it's but you're right. I just, there's so many people that have just like, oh, well, they've opened some things, then this is over and they're out and about.
Right.
So, I mean, we went to my mom and stepdad's today just to drop off a Father's Day gift. And, like my mom and stepdad were just like, whatever, no mask. And my wife and daughter and I, we had our mask on just because my stepdad's immunocompromised. So it's, we're trying to protect him. And, so it's tough. I think it's a little tougher at this point because things are open. Early on, everybody was just sort of staying at home, and when they were out, they were so precautious. And now people are just like, I feel like, they don't care what like scientists have to say and what the health community says. They're just like, well, I feel like it's been long enough. I'm going out. I'll take my chances.
Right.
So that's always fun. What else was there no 30 for 30 tonight?
They are showing Ken Griffey Jr. documentary on MLB Network, which I actually have on in the background. I'm watching it on mute, but that's the big sports documentary that I know of tonight.
Huh. I have to find that and there we go. Look at I don't have that channel.
That's too bad. Yeah, because right now they're showing Junior playing with his pops.
Yeah, I remember when I was little, like, it was before Ken Griffey Jr. was drafted, or I don't remember what year he was drafted. It was before he came into the majors, and I remember watching his dad play.
And his dad was a good ball player too.
His dad was very good. I mean, people forget sometimes some of these really good players had good dads. Like Barry Bonds' dad was very good too.
Mm-hmm. We all know the Alou family. That baseball runs very big in the Alou family. It's always fun to look at like the brother duos where one brother is like a legend and the other is kind of like just forgotten in like any sport.
Yeah.
Like Eddie Payton or Wayne Gretzky's brother.
Dom DiMaggio.
I would say Billy Ripken, but he played for a number of years. But boy, he was nothing like
Billy
Cal.
Ripken is remembered mostly for one thing, and that is the baseball card.
Yeah,
I mean I don't know. You might be too young to remember the baseball card incident.
I know of it, but not the details.
So I don't know how it happened, but there's a baseball card where it's a picture of him and he's holding the bat over his shoulder and you can see the nub of the bat and it said F off on it.
That's right. I knew like there was something on the bat. I just couldn't remember. Oh, I gotta look that up.
And when I was a kid, like this was pre eBay and e-commerce, So like you just had to find it in person. And the thing is
Looking
like
at it right now.
the thing is like, all right, so back when I was a kid is you found out the prices of things through Beckett Baseball Card Monthly, and which is like the Bible of baseball card collecting at the time. And Beckett would reference that it was value, but they wouldn't call it out. There was no pictures of it. So as a kid, you're like, man, adults don't want to tell me what it is, and I know it's out there. I'm trying to find this Billy Ripken card, and I never was able to find it because they did like a bunch of different versions. There was like a black box over it. There was a white box over it. And then maybe another version too. But maybe a year ago, 6 months ago, somebody sent me a picture of it. I was like, remember this? And it got me thinking, I'm like, man, I'm looking on eBay. And when I was a kid, it was really hard to find, and it was worth a lot of money. It was like $100 card or a $75 card. And that was in, the 90s. That was a lot of money. And now it's like you can get it for like $6, $8. And I'm like, worth it.
Yes.
I'll put that with my Carlton Fisk and Andre Dawson rookie cards.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, I've got, Hall of Famer rookie card, Hall of Famer rookie card, Billy Ripken swear card.
That's the legacy of Billy Ripken, while his brother is a Hall of Famer. But hey,
his brother is recognized as one of the people that saved baseball, and Billy Ripken is remembered for a baseball error card.
Exactly. Do you know? Hank Aaron's brother played baseball.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah. So Tommy Aaron, he played also with the Braves. He had 437 career big league games. He batted .229 with 13 home runs.
Huh.
While Hank Aaron, well, let's just say a little better. Career .305 average, 3,771 hits, 755 home runs, and he, no surprisingly, is a Hall of Famer. But what's ridiculous, again, this among others is ridiculous. Obviously, he was first ballot. He got 97.83% of the vote. Why that wasn't 100 is mind-boggling. It should have been.
There's a group of people out there that, and they have a point. Some point. I don't agree. I wouldn't do it, but Babe Ruth didn't get a unanimous decision on his first ballot. Why should anybody else? So
That's so stupid.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just but that's the logic they're using, and if you like, well, it's not good as Babe Ruth, and Babe Ruth didn't get 100%. But at some point, everyone's got to realize, all right, well, just because some idiot decided not to vote for Babe Ruth doesn't mean that Babe Ruth wasn't a Hall of Famer. That just means somebody was a turd and didn't like him.
Well, that's the thing. It's a lot of personal stuff with these guys.
Like it's very clearly that when Babe Ruth was being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, at that point, he was the greatest baseball player that ever played.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not really a doubt. That's a fact. And for somebody to say, nah, he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, that's just spite. That's some sort of spite. So, I can see that's your rationale where you say, well, if Babe Ruth couldn't get a unanimous decision, then nobody else should. But, why didn't he get a unanimous decision? That you have to ask that question. Is it because he wasn't worthy? No, clearly not. That would be to say he's not worthy of being represented in the Hall of Fame is literally the stupidest thing I've heard all day. But if you didn't vote for him because you think he's a turd, okay, all right. Then if that's your qualifications is you don't want to vote for him because he's a turd, okay. But then that shouldn't have bearing on anybody else voting. Nolan Ryan didn't get a unanimous Hall of Fame vote because somebody was like, well, Babe Ruth didn't, so Nolan Ryan shouldn't. Nolan frickin' Ryan.
Look at Ted Williams. Look at Willie Mays.
Yeah. It's insane. Insane.
You know, while we're on that subject, right now I have, by the Sporting News, baseball's 100 greatest players. Here's what I want you to do. Guess the top 5.
Hold on one second. I just want to go back to Bill Ripken. If you took out his 1990 season, he's a career, after playing for 11 seasons, he's a 0.4 F4. He had a 2.9 F4 in 1990, and he's a career 3.3.
Well, he's got something to tell to you, and it's at the bottom of his bat.
He wouldn't be the first.
Yeah. So,
what was the question?
Top 5 greatest players of all time according to the Sporting News, and the list is on Baseball Almanac. Can you guess those top 5 guys?
In baseball or sports in general?
Sports. Baseball. Just baseball.
The top 5 baseball players of all time?
That's right.
According to the Sporting News, and it's from this year?
This was, I think this is from a while ago, but
I'm just wondering if they're like including like Mike Trout.
No, and I think these are all guys that are retired too. See, I think, in my opinion, when you're making a list like this, they have to be retired.
Okay. The greatest players. Ty Cobb.
He's 3.
Okay. Oh, wow. Willie Mays.
He's 2.
Okay, I see where this... Ted Williams.
He's 8.
Oof. So that means that's probably not a good sign for Mickey Mantle.
No, Mickey Mantle is 17.
Yeah, so I didn't think he would be in there.
He's right there he's right behind Johnny Bench.
I'm going to say Honus Wagner.
Honus Wagner, no. Where is he on this list?
Okay. All right. I'm trying to gauge if they're heavy on the old time players. All right, Steve Carlton.
Nope.
Don't tell me Derek Jeter.
No.
Okay.
No. No.
Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron is 5.
Okay,
so you got 5, 3, and 2. You need 4 and 1.
Nolan Ryan.
No.
Did he put Barry Bonds on there?
I don't see Barry Bonds.
Okay.
I'm not. Oh no, he is on there. He's 34. Wow. They're 2 old-timey guys.
Sandy Koufax?
No.
Carl Hubble. Cy Young.
No. Cy Young is 14. Honus Wagner is 13.
Who's number 1?
The Babe.
Oh, why didn't I say the Babe? I was like, man, I did. So the
number
Babe,
4.
Baby. Who's number 4?
I'll give you one hint. Old-timey pitcher.
Mordecai Three Finger Brown.
Nope. Think the nation's capital.
I don't know.
Walter Johnson.
Oh, Wojo.
Yeah. So your top 5: Hank Aaron,
that is
Walter
really
Johnson,
going back
Ty
there.
Cobb, Willie Mays, and the Babe.
It is old-timey heavy.
Yeah. Greg Maddux is 39. Ernie, I just saw Ernie. Ernie's 38. Shoeless Joe Jackson is 35. Pete Rose is 25. Just throwing some other guys out there. Jimmy Fox is 15.
Pete Rose should be higher than Jimmy Fox.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Jimmy Fox is great, but
This is like I said when when people were mad about Kobe Bryant being like listed as the 8th best NBA player of all time. It's not a knock to be listed as a top 10 player in your sport of all time. So saying Pete Rose should be higher than Jimmy Fox, and Jimmy Fox was 15. It's not a knock on Jimmy Fox. Does he belong on that list? Yeah. I just think Pete Rose is sorely, sorely underrated.
Well, I still think if he didn't have the reputation, he wouldn't be as underrated.
I mean, total a-hole.
Yes.
I mean, if I wish somebody made like an Instagram page just of awful things and mean-spirited things he wrote when he autographed things for people. Like I think that would have like 1 million followers.
Did he sign someone's bat the same way Bill Ripken's was?
But Pete Rose has just written like just mean-spirited things, not about necessarily about the person he's signing it for, but like mean-spirited about other people.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Pete Rose is an a-hole. He knows he's an a-hole. But boy, the guy could play baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about it before, but in the when they had the postseason like post-game stuff, it was like Pete Rose, Frank Thomas, and A-Rod.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the three?
Yeah, there was a fourth, but those were the main three guys.
And they did like the behind the scenes kind of thing, like as they were coming into or out of commercial, and like you have two of the best hitters of all time, and Pete Rose is giving them lessons on hitting, and they were watching like they had no idea.
Yeah,
like the guy was a phenomenal baseball player, had terrible haircuts.
Oh God, that haircut he had in the Phillies when he was a Philly. Oh my God, he looked like a freaking guy you wouldn't want around in elementary school. Or looked like a stereotypical IT nerd from the day.
He looks like a 1970s female gym teacher. But the guy was just an absolute beast as a baseball player. It's unreal. That I don't know how to describe it. I mean, you look at his stats and he's stupid good. He's a career over 80 FWAR.
That's pretty good.
The guy is career over 300 hitter, 375 on base percentage. He's just a good baseball player, man. His K percent is 7% for his career.
That's pretty good. Over how long?
From 1963 to 1986.
Isn't that nuts?
7%.
That's nuts.
His walk percent was 10.
It's unworldly.
Yeah, I mean, no power at all. I mean, his high in home runs was 16.
Mm-hmm. But that wasn't his game.
That wasn't his game.
I mean, look at Roberto Clemente. He had decent pop, but he wasn't a main power hitter. But boy, that guy could hit.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's average WRC plus was 121 over a 23-year career.
Yeah, I think he deserves to be higher on that list. Because, I mean, like, Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson was really good, but can you tell me that Frank Robinson was better than Pete Rose?
No. Frank Robinson was a really nice baseball player, and he tries to sell himself as the best second baseman of all time, but he's not. He was a good baseball player.
I mean, he was a great baseball player, but I mean, a really great baseball player, but I'd still put Pete Rose over him.
Oh, absolutely, without question. You know, I don't know how else to spell that out. You know, it's, you know, Frank Robinson was a super solid baseball player, but you know, you look at his career stats and it's, you know, it's not nearly as good as Pete Rose.
No. Now, I think it's worth noting, in my opinion, that even though he's one of the more talked about players, I still think Willie Mays is a bit underrated. That guy was
Willie Mays.
Willie Mays, a freaking Willie Mays.
Willie Mays Hayes?
You may run like Mays, but you hit like shit.
Yeah, Willie Mays. Man, some of these guys just played so long.
And the thing with Willie Mays, too, is he hit 660 home runs, and he played at Candlestick Park for how long? If he would not have played in those conditions, he probably would have had more.
Yeah. 150 career F4.
Like, that's stupid good.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 seasons of over 10 F4. And his strikeouts were not very high either. He's at 12%. And this is a guy that, you know, hit a ton of home runs. It's unreal. Like, the guy hit 660 home runs and only struck out 12% of the time.
Yeah. Now, let's circle back to Ken Griffey Jr. for a second. He hit 630 home runs. Remember how many injury issues he had later in his career? Imagine if he didn't deal with that.
You know, I watched him, like, that was him and Frank Thomas were two guys that were in my heyday, like, as a kid watching baseball. Like, I came into my own watching them, and they were unreal. Just unreal how important and how big they were as baseball players, just watching them. And Ken Griffey, I don't think, gets enough recognition because during his time, you had Sosa, you had the steroid era. So you had Sosa, McGuire. I mean, you know, they mostly left off on that documentary about the home run race, that Griffey was right there until the end.
Yeah, he had 56 home runs that year. That led the American League.
Yeah, like, so he was a phenomenal baseball player, and so it's you know, it just, I think got overshadowed a little bit by some of the other guys like Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire and some of the other things going on in baseball.
Sosa,
and you're right.
yeah.
And you're right. The injuries, you know, really hurt.
And the other thing, too, is when he was injured a lot, you know, later in his career, he spent a lot of years on some pretty bad Cincinnati ball clubs, because at least when he was in Seattle was kind of his town. Like, that was Ken Griffey Jr.'s town. And the Mariners were competing for the playoffs in the 90s those years. I mean, right now on that documentary, they're talking about the 95 ALDS. I mean, everyone remembers that, them beating the Yankees. And, you know, those teams had the unit as well. So you had a team that, while the Mariners aren't considered like a national following, you know, they were good, and that was his team. When he went to Cincinnati and the Reds were no good, I mean, you were going to a city that saw the likes of Pete Rose and Johnny Bench, and, you know, Frank Robinson played there too. So, you know, when he was on Cincinnati, I think it was really easy for him to get overshadowed there.
Yeah, and what's crazy is, so you look, you know, in the first run of the Seattle era, the guy was just absolutely dominant. And then the last 6-7 years of his career, most of those years he was a negative F4.
Yeah, he had the injuries, he was getting older, and let's take a minute to talk about the fact that he was a member of the White Sox for a very brief time.
Yeah.
41 games, 2008, he was on the south side of Chicago.
Yep.
I think he hit a grand slam once.
It's funny because that was the bad era of Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
2008, he batted 249.
Yeah.
With 249 with 18 home runs that season in 143 games, which is not very Ken Griffey like. But the guy had just so many injuries that it just took its toll. It's sad, to be honest with you.
Honestly, he would have had 700 plus if he didn't get hurt. I guarantee it.
He had such a beautiful swing.
Oh, it was probably one of the most beautiful swings in all of baseball in history.
Like, Will Clark had a beautiful swing. Mark Grace had a beautiful. Why are all the left-handed swings the most beautiful?
Tony Gwynn?
Yeah.
Oh, he just hit a home run. Ooh, what a beautiful swing. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like I'm looking at Frank Thomas's stats, and the guy was really
He was
good.
Criminally underrated too. He really was.
I mean,
Frank Thomas was a fantastic player.
I'm gonna read you. I'm not gonna include 1990 because he only played 60 games. But I'm going to read you 91, 92, 93, 94, 95 on-base percentages. And those are all seasons where, except for 94 where he had 113 games, they're all at least 145 games. On-base percentage, 453, 439, 426, 487, 454.
That's pretty good.
That means he's getting on base half the times he goes to the plate.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. The guy, and that was before you were born. Like, for me, growing up as a Cubs fan, it was tough because you were like, well, clearly this is the best player in Chicago. And it's not a knock. It's just he was that good. And it was frustrating because you're like, man, I grew up in a White Sox, on the South Side with the White Sox fans. And, man, they love to just throw shit in my face about the White Sox. And I just had to eat how good Frank Thomas was all the time. And it was tough because you're like, well, he's so damn good. But, it's tough to be mad about. But he was just so insanely good. I mean, the guy played from 1990 to 2008 and has a career .419 on-base percentage.
That's remarkable. Didn't he finish his career with the Blue Jays, I believe?
Let's see.
Because I know he was on Oakland in 2006.
He went to Oakland in 2006, Blue Jays in 2007, and then 2008. Fangraphs is not expanding, but it says 2 teams. So I don't know if he did he go back to the White Sox?
I don't think he did. I'm going to look up Baseball Reference.
Yeah, I think it's because I'm on my phone. It's not expanding that last season. Baseball Reference.
He went back to Oakland. So 2008, he was on Toronto and then Oakland.
Yeah. So I don't remember the Toronto at all. I remember Oakland.
Yeah, I remember Oakland.
But it was only, man, it wasn't that long in Toronto. I just don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto wasn't very good that year, and he was at the end of his career. Let's see, how old was he? In 2008, he was 40 years old, so.
Yeah, you know what? There's actually going to be a lot of people that towards the end, some of these guys like Ken Griffey and Frank Thomas, people will beat on their stats a little bit, like they weren't that good. But then if you saw the whole body of work in the early years, you'd just be like, oh, okay, no, this guy was fantastic. And I think a guy that probably closer to, your frame of reference in the same way would be Albert Pujols. Like, how absolutely devastating of a hitter he was. And, these last few years just sort of.
I would say, in my humble opinion, Albert Pujols is the best hitter the past 20-some years as a whole. Miguel Cabrera, I think, you could also put in that category too. But here's the thing. From 2001 to 2010, here's how this guy reads out. This is over 1,558 games. He slashed 331, 426, 624 with an OPS over 1,000 and 408 home runs. Albert Pujols was unbelievably good.
And what you're saying he was the best from what years? The last what years?
Like the 2010s, like the 2000s and the 2010s. I know it's really dipped the past 7-some years, but at the turn of the century, like that generation of ball players, like Albert Pujols.
I'm gonna say he was very good, and I'd have to check the actual year range, but Manny Ramirez.
He was up there too.
He was so stupid good. That guy, I think that guy has had like 3 seasons or 4 seasons where his OPS has been over 1,100.
Yeah, Manny Ramirez, some people say he's the best overall right-handed hitter of all time. People have gone on to say that. And you know what? In terms of talent, I know he's been busted for roids several times, but that dude was talented as hell.
Very talented in nut job. But man, he was a hell of a baseball player.
Another guy who spent some time with the White Sox in his later years.
He was just there for 1 season, wasn't he?
Yeah, 2010. He was there for 24 games. I remember that too. I remember when they made that trade with LA to get him. And he just kind of didn't do all that much. He only hit 1 home run as a White Sox.
I bet that one baseball is worth a lot of money.
I bet it is.
This is his lone White Sox home run.
Yeah. It probably is. At least Ken Griffey hit 3 with the White Sox. Manny only hit 1.
It is funny. The White Sox do like to go after sluggers well past their prime.
Hopefully those days are over for them. But yeah, they did that a lot because they had Manny Ramirez. They had Ken Griffey Jr. Remember when they had Kevin Youkilis too?
The Uke.
Do you know who else they had too? I forgot about this. They had Andrew Jones that one year.
Oh yeah, Andrew Jones. But Manny was a hell of a baseball player. Albert Pujols was fantastic too, and we got blessed a little bit to have such fantastic baseball players and over the last 20 years. Like growing up, there was a lot of really, really good baseball players, but none that you would be like, they're better than Ted Williams. And now, you look at the body of work. If you take a 10-year span of Manny Ramirez, Albert Pujols, what's his name up in Detroit?
Miguel Cabrera.
Miguel Cabrera. And you could be like, I will compare their 10-year spans with Ted Williams. And that's not trying to be blasphemous. These guys.
Blasphemous!
That's a blasphemous. They're just stupid, good baseball players. you know?
Yeah, I'm looking at Miguel Cabrera right now. Remember when he won the Triple Crown?
Yep.
348, 442, 636 with an OPS of over 1,000.
It's insane. Insane.
Yeah, it's another guy who... But you know what? You look at the past 2 years, it's a smaller sample size. The numbers still look pretty good overall. Where, like, you look at Albert Pujols, and honestly, since he joined the Angels, his numbers are... Like, if you look at his slash line with the Angels, the numbers are pretty mediocre. But, my God, you look what he did in St. Louis, and it was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. Yeah, my God, I'm looking at these Manny stats. Good God. I mean, there was a lot of home runs, but they weren't like gaudy. Comparatively to, Bonds and Griffey and
Right.
But just, I mean, you look at that slugging percentage, you look at that on base percentage. I mean, OPS from he had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 consecutive years where he finished with over 1,000 OPS.
That's pretty good.
And then he took a major dip down to 982 and then went back up to over 1,000.
Yeah, that's some good hitting.
It wasn't until he went to the White Sox that it took a tumble.
Yeah. Because he was still pretty productive in L.A. from what I remember.
He was.
I'll never forget when he golfed one out against us.
Yeah, in L.A., there was a year that he had a 1,200 OPS.
Yeah,
And it was a shortened season, but still, he had a 1,232 OPS. He batted .396 with a .489 on base and a .743 slugging.
Remember when Manny finished his career? It was like in Tampa Bay or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got busted for roids again. He's like, I'm out.
Yeah, he played all 5 games there.
5 games. Hey, Wade Boggs got his 3,000th hit as a member of the Devil Rays.
He did, and I think part of that contract for him, they paid him a bunch of money, but part of the contract was when he goes to the Hall of Fame, he has to be in a Devil Rays uniform.
Really? I saw his plaque. Because I was at the Hall of Fame a few years ago. I just don't remember what he was wearing.
I think it was Wade Boggs. There was one player that was part of their contract, is they had to go in as like the expansion team, so they had representation in there.
All I remember was when it came to weird things like that. I remember Greg Maddux saying, "I'm not going to choose a cap, so his cap is blank." But I don't remember that story. Again, I saw so many plaques when I was there. I can't remember what Boggs looked like, but I remember they showed a clip of that 3,000th hit. It was a home run. And if you thought Tropicana Field is ugly now, you should have seen it back in 1999. Oh, yeah. My God.
He's wearing... I want to look this up. I wonder if because I remember, didn't they make a rule that you couldn't... I think they made a rule because of it, that you couldn't do that.
Why would you want to see Wade Boggs in the Hall of Fame in a Tampa Bay Rays uniform?
I mean, if you're Tampa Bay, of course you do, because you want...
Well, nobody else does.
Nobody else does. Yeah, I'm going to have to look up that story. There was maybe it was somebody else, but I was pretty sure it was Wade Boggs. Oh, here I'm reading now. So they offered him $1 million if he wore the Devil Rays uniform. He said it's a myth.
Is okay.
Okay. It was a rumor. They asked him about it on WFAN.
Barney Gumble started it after he knocked him out.
He said the rumor started from Jose Canseco.
Really?
So, all right. So maybe that's one of those things is when it happened. I mean, that would have been, a long time ago. We didn't have Snopes. So if you heard a rumor like that, you're like, it's probably true. Heard it from multiple people. But what a kick in the ding ding would that be if you were a Boston Red Sox fan and he went in as Tampa Bay Ray?
The fact that you actually went on this show and said kicking the ding ding. That would be awful, though. Hey, you played for the Yankees and the Red Sox, two of the most historic franchises in the history of sports. We're going to put you in as a member of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Kicking the ding.
I mean, when I've only been to Cooperstown once, and it was honestly one of the cool, I was indifferent. I mean, I love baseball, but I was like, how cool is this going to be? And it was so cool.
Oh, I love it there. I loved every second of it.
It was so cool. And you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you really are.
And
a lot of things.
Yeah, and when you go in there and Andre Dawson's one of my all-time favorite baseball players. And when you go in there and you see his plaque and he's got a stupid Expos hat on, and you're just like,
what a kick to the ding ding.
Just gotta get a shirt. Kicking the ding ding.
Yeah, I saw that too. I'm like, man, didn't Dawson also say he kind of wanted to go in with a Cub hat?
Yeah, I mean, he played there for 10 years.
Well, he was definitely with Montreal longer, but I think Montreal needed someone to represent them. But you were playing at old ugly Olympic Stadium while when he was in Chicago, he won the MVP in 1987 with the Cubs, and he did that in front of all the people at Wrigley Field on WGN. I think he's just got a really emotional connection here. But the Expos, I think, wanted somebody representing their ball club, even though they're not in Montreal anymore. So,
how awful would that have been if he went in with a Marlins hat or a Red Sox hat?
Oh yeah.
But he played twice as long in Montreal as he did in Chicago. I know he's more well known, but he did play there a long time.
Yeah,
I wasn't mad. It was just it was weird.
Wasn't as much of a kick to the ding ding for you.
Or if Ryan Sandberg would have gone in with a Phillies hat.
Phillies, yeah. Or you had Sweet Swinging Billy Williams in an Oakland A's hat.
Manny Ramirez goes in with a
Rays
hat.
Oh, dude, Ken Griffey Jr. should go in with a White Sox cap.
How funny would that be?
Yeah, 41 games out of how many millions of games he played with Seattle and Cincinnati.
Ken Griffey, so good. So, what year did Griffey retire?
2010, I believe, because he spent his last 2 years with the Mariners. He went back to Seattle.
I'm looking at his plaque right now.
It's kind of like Ichiro, where he spent all the years in Seattle, then he left. But Ichiro obviously spent most of his career with Seattle, where Griffey was gone for a while. But they both retired as Mariners.
Yeah, no, it's a cool looking plaque. I mean, it's funny is the room with all the plaques at Cooperstown was super cool. Don't get me wrong, but the other stuff was way cooler.
Oh yeah, all the memorabilia. You can look at all the bats and the baseballs, the caps, the World Series rings, the lockers, all that neat stuff.
I know they rotate some of the stuff around sometimes. I don't know if you were there when you were there. Did they have the Shawnometer?
I think so.
Yeah, when I was there, like my wife, like she's a Phillies fan. She grew up as a Phillies fan, so she just walked right past it, and I'm just like, it's the Shawnometer. It's the Shawnometer.
I know it's your name, dork, but don't get too giddy on it.
Yeah, that was a kid during that era. That was, that was before you could go on like Google and find somebody's batting average. There was some hero there that would just show you what his batting average was. It was the Shawnometer. And it was super cool. Like as a kid, you were like, oh man, the Shawnometer. I remember as a kid just seeing it on TV every day. And then to see that actually, in person, it was really cool. And then my wife was like, I don't get it. And then she saw the Philly Fanatic costume. And then she just turned into me with the Shawnometer.
Oh, I have a picture of me with that.
The Fanatic.
I think one of the White Sox pinwheels is there too. From the old scoreboard.
So I've been to Cooperstown and I've been to Canton for the NFL or the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Me too, when I was 3 years old.
I was there 2007, I think. And I'm going to be near Springfield, Massachusetts in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to try to go to the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame.
When I was about 6 or 7, we were in Toronto. We went to the NHL Hall of Fame, the Hockey Hall of Fame.
I've never been. I heard it's cool.
Oh, you should have seen some of the stuff there. The Piece de Resistance was the original Stanley Cup. It was just a little thing.
When I was in Canton, I think my favorite thing was they had the Fridge's Super Bowl ring.
That they had either that or a replica. I think it was a replica at the Chicago Sports Museum, and you can fit your whole hand through it.
It's like you could put a silver dollar in there. Like, how is his finger that big?
Hey, he was the Fridge. He was a big dude.
He may be large, but he's no dumb cookie.
Nope.
I learned that from a really good song.
We call him the Fridge.
Holy cow. Former NFL offensive lineman Max Turk died on Sunday at the age of 26.
Whoa, what?
Cause of death not disclosed. He was a third-round pick in 2016. Jeez, 26 years old.
It's awful.
That is terrible. So now we finally have Addison Russell. Got a job. Uh-oh, you turning into a Buffalo Bills fan?
Yep, get ready for some Bills fan puke.
So yeah, Addison Russell got a job. He is landing in Korea's top league, joining the Kaiwoom Heroes on a $530,000 contract, according to Ji Ho Yu of Yonhap News.
That's all I gotta say.
All told, since the start of the 2017 season, Russell carries only a 243, 310, 379 slash line.
Yeah, remember when we thought he was going to be an MVP type player?
Do you know why we thought that? Because Joe Madden said he was.
And wasn't it Billy Beane that said you're getting the next Barry Larkin in the Samardzija trade?
God.
He had us all fooled.
We were all fooled. But it's funny, the very first comment on MLB trade rumors about the article is, who thought Russell would get the last laugh this year?
Yeah, he's going to be the one being paid to play baseball.
True, but I don't know if we would call that the last laugh. I think we're all laughing at him. He's what? How old is he?
Not old.
He's not old. He should be getting the biggest money of his career playing in MLB, and instead nobody wanted him. There's some terrible teams in baseball, they didn't want him for the minimum.
Yep.
And he's got to go play in Korea.
Yeah,
So I
That's
don't
true.
know. I don't know if he's the one that's laughing. I don't think he's laughing at all.
No. I don't think his plan was to go overseas and play. But you know what? I don't feel sorry for him. So.
So what else do we got here? We still don't have anything, any more concrete about the MLB season, but we do have 40 MLB players and staff testing positive for coronavirus, and spring training facilities have been shut down. And I think it's looking more and more like we are not going to have an MLB season.
This is almost kind of a humble reminder that the whole reason we're in this situation, not having baseball the first few months, is because there's a pandemic, and the pandemic never went away. And the pandemic does not care which side, owners or players. It's just, at the end of the day, to me, it feels like that the reason that this was all delayed is going to be, in the end, the reason this is canceled, and that's the pandemic, agreement or not. So I almost feel like at this point, why even bother? I mean,
right.
What? You wouldn't be able to start spring training until late July, or what? What was the numbers? I don't remember, but
yeah. So I mean, here's my thinking on it is, you've got some serious issues for baseball going long term as far as labor relations.
Oh, big time.
Is why not take the pandemic and let the pandemic be what cancels your season, and spend the rest of this time to work out a long-term labor deal.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are kind of in the just cancel it, work on the CBA mode, because I know we want baseball back, but I think it's fair to say a lot of fans are in the mind thinking of, do we really want like a 40-game exhibition type season? Would that even feel genuine?
That's the thing. It won't feel genuine. I think you can get away with a shortened season in basketball. You can get away with a shortened season in hockey.
Yeah, we've seen it with lockouts.
Baseball is a different animal, and I just don't see it working. And I think a lot of people, baseball far and away is the biggest draw for people that are numbers people.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
And numbers mean a whole lot in baseball, and you're going to have a whole lot of people. It's by far and away the league that has the most people that want the traditions to stay. It's the biggest one about what these stats represent. It's the biggest one for fans as far as the numbers go. And for you to throw a 50-game season out there, less than a third, that's tough. That's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. A lot of people are going to be not happy.
Yeah, and you're going to have debates over, was this legitimate or not? Do we have to put an asterisk next to it? Which, it shouldn't be, but you're going to have people saying, well, if this was a full season, this could have happened. If this was a full season, that could have happened. You know what I mean? Because sample size in baseball means the world. Let's face it.
Absolutely. It's such a streaky game. Like, it's so if you have somebody that, has a big hit streak of like 20 games or something, and in a 50-game stretch, it's going to look absolutely amazing. But, maybe the rest of that season, they just, came back down to earth hard. It's part of the cool thing about baseball is because it's such a long season, stats even out. You don't have somebody that just has this astronomical run and not cool off. They cool off, they come back down to earth, numbers average themselves out, and in a 50-game season, you're gonna see some people that look really bad and outside of the norm, and you're gonna have somebody that just looks exceptionally good and gets a big payday because of it was a shortened season. and it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow.
It is. But it's at some point you got to pull a trigger. It's like, I mean, realistically, when you think about it, even if there was a deal put in place, we still wouldn't know what was going to happen. It was still in question because of the pandemic. Look, you have pretty much an agreed format for the NHL. When's that even going to start? We have better ideas for the NBA. That's in question now because of where they want to play is seeing spikes in the pandemic again.
Yep.
I just, the more I see it, the more I'm thinking, I just think sports in general in 2020 is toast. I really do.
But, even the NBA, like, the plan sounds like from a perception of that the league is thrown out there, sounds like it's a done deal, but they haven't agreed to terms with the NBA Players Association yet on a deal. So that hasn't been finalized. You still have concerns about, you're right, the COVID-19 at like the skyrocketing rates in Florida, the bubble environment. There's concerns about that. You have players that are concerned about injury risks due to being full ramped up in the middle of season and then complete stopping. And there's a lot of players that don't have facilities, and they went from being 100 miles an hour down to 0, and then you want them to go back to up to 100 miles an hour. That's the injury concern. And then you have some players that don't want to play because of the all that's going on with the Black Lives Matter movement and solidarity. So it's there's still a lot of concerns about the NBA and whether that happens too.
And if one team has some positive players, then you can't just say this team sit out, the rest play. No, you can't do that. If one team has it, it's shut down again in any sport.
Yeah. And you're seeing that with baseball too, is, baseball, what did the Phillies have a bunch of?
Yeah, a ton of them.
So it's like, this is it's tough to swallow, people don't want to hear this, but if we don't all take this super seriously, it's not going to go away.
No, it's not.
I hate it as much as everybody else, but I also not trying to, die or have my kid die.
Yeah, or pass it to somebody is more susceptible to it.
All right. And so it's tough, and it's and part of all that is going on, even with basketball not being finalized. It's probably part of the reason why Jim Boylan has a job.
Yeah.
I saw a report, I think it was Joe Cowley, said that, the Bulls should step on it on getting their Boylan fired and look to hire their coach because they don't want to lose out to the Knicks. And honestly, man, like I believe, this isn't John Paxson and Gar Forman. We're looking at a really smart basketball guy who has a good structure around him with the team that he's brought over. I trust that they're going to do the right decision, and Jim Boylan is basically good as gone. They're going to get a good coach. I'm not even worried about what the Knicks do. I don't care what the Knicks do. Maybe, who knows with the Knicks, they might fire the coach within 2 weeks.
Yeah, knowing that.
So I think there's enough guys that you could bring in that you shouldn't have to rush your search in order to try to find the guy before the Knicks get him. I just think it's silly, and I think AK is going to once everything is finalized, fire him and they probably already have a guy in mind.
Yeah.
It just, I'm not sure what the point of Joe Cowley's comments are. I mean, from all reports I'm reading is that Tom Thibodeau is the guy that they've tapped for the Knicks, and I don't see AK bringing him back.
I don't see him coming back either. I don't see that at all. I think that if he were to go anywhere, it would be the Knicks, and frankly, I think that would be a disaster too.
Anything that you do with the Knicks is going to be a disaster. Nobody's coming to turn that around until they get better ownership. And, at least with Tom Thibodeau, I think they will have some discipline there. And he's not going to be a yes man. But my concern there is, he might do something good, but is he going to have a blow up with the owner and that be the reason he's out?
Yeah, the bad possibilities are endless when it comes to the Knicks.
Yeah, so we've got NBA postseason in question, NBA rest of the season in question, the MLB season completely in question. Haven't got any updates on the NHL season.
Nah.
And the NFL is just like, no, we're good. We're good. We're good. I don't know if I fully believe that, unless they're planning to play in some empty stadiums.
Well, I know they were talking about host cities, and Chicago is one of the host cities they were looking at, but I haven't really seen much progress on that in a while.
But you've got the NFL that doesn't think there's going to be a delay or anything, and they don't think the NFL is going to have troubles too?
Yeah, we'll see. You know what? When camp starts to come around, I think we might see some more of that.
Well, camp starts next month.
If camp starts next month and then there are COVID cases breaking out, then there's going to be a lot of speculation about what's going to happen.
I mean, I think we're literally 1 month away from camps.
Yeah.
Maybe a month and a week, but it's right around the corner, and from when it's supposed to start, and I don't see how you're going to have a regular season with a full stadium of fans in the home stadiums for the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to imagine NFL games without fans, but luckily for them, there's so much money in the TV revenue that people will still watch.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they play with empty stadium, if the NFL is the first league to come back in full form, people will just come out of the woodworks to watch it just because they're thirsty for sports.
Oh yeah, and it's the NFL; it's big either way.
Yeah, but I just don't see how you're gonna have a full stadium. It's just gonna be weird.
Yeah, I don't see it either. At least not right now.
Did you see the hoax about the COVID helmets that the NFL was gonna wear?
No, I didn't. I think I'm glad I didn't see that because that sounds stupid.
It looked so it was actually a Bears. They made the hoax was a Bears helmet, and it had a shield on the eyes, like a dark shield, and then the face mask was closed off, and then there was like a Darth Vader type like breathing apparatus.
Oh, I think I did see that. I didn't know what that was. I just saw a picture of it. I'm like, what is that? And I just kind of scrolled past it. So that's what that was. Okay.
So I saw a picture and I was like, I was doing something and I just saw it and I was like, the NFL is for real? They're going to try to make people wear this? And I was like, no. And then I saw like a lot of people on Twitter posting about it, and I was like, I got to go back and look. And then when I Googled it, the first thing that came up was Snopes, and it was like, no, not happening. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I'm like, That looks so stupid. The COVID helmet. The last thing I could think of I wanted to talk about was somebody made a point. It was actually an interesting one. So if the NHL season does restart and we see the Stanley Cup go until, I don't know, like October, November-ish. You know, what does that do for next season when they're finishing the Stanley Cup right around when the new season should be starting?
You know, I was thinking about this too, about the NHL as well. And I feel like you might have to do a lockout type season next year. So like 48 games.
They threw out an idea is, what if you just start the NHL season going forward with the Winter Classic on January 1st?
So what you're saying is they'd start January 1st. Now, would they play all 82 games?
For next season, yeah. But you would just shuffle your season, and instead of starting in October, you would start in January.
But how late into the summer would that go?
Probably
You got to make up like 3-4 months right there.
I mean,
and then what about the season after that? You're going to play all summer?
Forever. They're talking permanently move the start of the start of the seasons. So instead of being overlapping, from, over 2 seasons or 2 years, like a season over 2 years, you have it start and end in the same calendar year.
So you're gonna play in the hottest climates in midsummer. You're gonna play baseball in Arizona or play hockey in Arizona in late June.
It's an interesting idea though, because when you do start the NHL season, you start it during postseason of baseball. You start it at the beginning of the NBA season, and you are competing with the NFL. There's a lot of competition, temperature wise. Yeah, sucks, but as far as how your competition with other sports, I don't know. It kind of makes sense a little bit.
That would be a big adjustment. I mean, you're playing dog days of the summer, through the center time of baseball in the middle of the summer. I don't know. I don't know if I like
you'd basically start it 3 months later. So then it would go until until like September. I'm not going to lie, as a fan that likes to go to the games, wouldn't it be nice to go to an NHL game when it's not like super cold outside, when you can go in the summer?
I mean, that would be kind of cool. Summer night, hey, let's go to a hockey game. It would be a big adjustment, that's for sure. And no question. Be a major adjustment.
It would be. But I mean, I would much rather watch NHL through the summer than Major League Baseball in November.
It would take getting used to, but
I mean, there's gonna have to be a decision made if you're NHL, because if you're not wrapping this up until when the season's supposed to start anyway, I don't know. unless they're, I don't know. It's a toughie. And for the sports that were going on when this all hit, the NBA and the NHL, it's going to be here for when they start their next season.
Yeah, I mean, this is what this is doing. It's not just a short-term 1 year effect. It's going to be a long-term effect.
I mean, NFL, maybe it's just this 1 year, this one season.
Yeah, NFL is very different.
But the other three major sports, yep, this is going over into 2 seasons at least.
Yeah,
I don't see any way around at least the NBA and NHL. Like, how does this not? I mean, because we're still concerned about what's going to happen with, about NFL, and you're going to have the next seasons are supposed to start for the NHL and NBA during that same time. So you can't tell me that they're not going to feel this impact over 2 seasons. And that's tough. You know, if you have it over 1 season, your whole season, you can be like, okay, listen, this season was kind of a lost season. It sucks. We deal with it and we start over next year. But if in those 2 sports, you had it kill the end of the season and you're going to have it kill at least the start of the next season. So that's like 2 seasons that it's screwing you up. And that's tough.
Yeah, big time.
There's so many logistics things. There's so many, you know, as far as, you know, contract considerations, the way you do your drafts, the way you work free agency, your television contract status. Like, there's a lot that messes with, and that's a tough pill to swallow, man.
It is.
I'm trying to think. Is there anything else that's going on that I'm forgetting about?
Not really.
It has really been slow week, man.
Yeah.
Oof. Yeah. So I'm looking the MLB Trade Rumors NHL site. They were the ones that were suggesting the NHL season start on January 1st from now on.
Who was that?
The NHL version of MLB fan Trade Rumors.
Okay. I was confused the way you were. Okay, I got you.
So 58% of people want to keep the dates as is. 23% think they should move the season back a little bit, and then 19% are in favor of moving it to January 1st.
Well, they're good. There's going to be a lot of figuring out to do here.
Yeah. Oof. Well, I don't really have anything else, so I guess we'll wrap this up here. I want to thank everybody for checking us out. Make sure you hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, TuneIn app, Google Play, Spotify. Follow us on social media at ChiFanPat1, at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like number New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on the plains.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down.